My beloved child, even before your heart could recognize what was changing, heaven had already begun to move on your behalf. There are things I do in the secret place that your eyes have not yet seen, your ears have not yet heard, and your mind has not yet found enough peace to understand immediately. As you draw nearer to the door I have prepared, it is not only blessing that comes closer to you, opposition is also stirred. Because darkness does not fear a person who is asleep, but it trembles before a soul that begins to awaken. Do not be surprised when you feel strange pressures within your heart, small voices trying to sow doubt, sudden feelings of unease rising up, even though nothing outwardly has changed. I do not want you to condemn yourself for those moments of weakness. Remember what is written, be watchful. Stand firm in the faith. Be strong, 1 Corinthians 16:13. For there are shakings that do not come to knock you down, but to remind you to return to your position of guarding your soul in me. There are prayers of yours that I received from the very first moment they left your lips, even though the answer has not yet appeared before your eyes. Do not measure my love by how quickly you see results. Do not measure my faithfulness by the number of days you have had to wait. There are things I delay not because I have forgotten, but because I am bringing the timing into fullness. For the vision is yet for the appointed time, it hastens toward the end and will not lie. Habakkuk 2:3. When you do not yet see the door open, I am still holding the key. When you do not yet hear the answer, I am still arranging what must be set in its proper place. When you think you have been left in the in-between, I am shaping you into one who can step through that door without being made proud by it, frightened by it, or led away from me by it. Therefore, my beloved child, guard your heart with tenderness, not with panic. Pray not as one who has been driven into a dead end, but as one who knows the Father is listening. Put on the radiant armor I give you, for it is written, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand firm. Ephesians 6:13. And do not forget that standing firm sometimes does not mean running quickly, but refusing to leave the place where I have set you. When darkness whispers, answer it with truth. When fear pulls your eyes downward, lift your gaze upward. When circumstances make you feel small, remember that you belong to the one who is greater than every circumstance. I did not lead you near a turning point in order to abandon you there. I did not awaken you only to let you tremble. I called you to awaken so that you would recognize that what is opposing you is not greater than what is protecting you. And when the appointed time comes, you will look back on these days, no longer with tears of fear, but with holy wonder, because you will understand that when you thought you were surrounded, you were in fact being covered. My beloved child, do not be quick to become confused when things around you begin to feel unusual. When certain people suddenly become harder to understand than before, when paths you thought had opened close again in silence, or when even simple conversations leave your heart feeling heavy. Not every disturbance is a sign that you are lost. There are things I allow to happen so that your spiritual eyes may become clearer, so that you no longer confuse noise with calling, or the pressure of emotion with the peaceful guidance of my hand. As it is written, your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, this is the way. Walk in it, Isaiah 30:21. But in order to hear that voice, you must learn not to chase after every sound that rises around you. There are doors that close not to disappoint you, but to keep you from stepping into a place that no longer belongs to your new season. There are relationships that become strained not to make you bitter, but to help you recognize what is being built on truth, and what is being held together only by habit, fear, or the need to be accepted. I am teaching you to mature in discernment. My child, in the past, one cold word could pull you into days of endless thinking. Someone's silence could make you question your worth. One small obstacle could cause you to wonder whether I was still with you. But now, I do not want you to live like a leaf, carried away by every wind. I want you to stand firm like a tree planted by streams of water. For my word declares that the one who delights in my law shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that brings forth its fruit in its season. Psalm 1:3. You were not created to react to every provocation. You were created to respond to me. When chaos tries to make you hurry, slow down in me. When a misunderstanding tries to pull you into conflict, step back into wisdom. When old emotions rise up and demand to rule, remember that your heart no longer belongs to the old prisons. It is being trained by me to become a dwelling place of peace. There are waves of opposition that do not come because you are weak, but because you are leaving the place that once bound you. Darkness does not fear a soul asleep in familiarity. It fears a soul beginning to recognize the light. For you are the light of the world, Matthew 5:14. As the light within you grows, the old places that once controlled you will try to call you back. They will remind you of wounds that have grown old, stir up reactions you once relied on, magnify half-truths and distorted words, and make you doubt what I spoke in the quiet hour. But my child, not every memory that rises is an invitation for you to return. Many times, it is only the final echo of a room you have already left. Do not open the door to what I have delivered you from. Do not allow a familiar emotion to call itself truth. I have given you a renewed mind. For it is written, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. So you do not need to think in old ways in order to handle a new season. Remember Nehemiah, the one in whose heart I placed the burden to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. When he began restoring the ruined places, mockery immediately arose. Sanballat and Tobiah did not oppose him while the wall still lay in the dust. They only became angry when they saw the stones beginning to be set back into their rightful place. Do you see? Resistance often does not appear when everything is still in ruins. But when restoration begins to take shape, they tried to distract him, calling him down to the plain to discuss matters. But Nehemiah answered, I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down. Nehemiah 6:3. My child, keep that sentence in your heart. Not everyone who calls you deserves your time. Not every accusation requires your explanation. Not every tension demands that you climb down from the wall I am helping you build. There are moments when your holiest obedience is not to answer, but to keep building. Therefore, when you find your heart being pulled back into endless conversations, circling thoughts, and analyses that exhaust your soul, recognize this. The adversary often does not need to strike you down with one great blow. It only needs to wear you down through small noises that continue for too long. But I have not called you to live in that kind of depletion. I have called you to step into peaceful watchfulness. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds. Philippians 4:7. And that peace is not a fragile feeling, but a holy guard standing before the door of your heart. Let me guard your mind from what was not sent by me. Let me teach you when to speak, when to be silent, when to move forward, and when to let a door close without trying to beat against it with fear. Do not regard the shaking around you as evidence of failure. Many times, it is a sign that old foundations are being separated from you, so that something more enduring may be set in place. When I prepare to lift you into a new level of maturity, I must also teach you not to be controlled by what is old any longer. If others misunderstand you, you can still keep your heart pure. If an opportunity closes, you can still trust that I know the better way. If old emotions return, you can still say to your soul, I no longer belong to that place. As it is written, if anyone is in Christ, He is a new creation. Old things have passed away. 2 Corinthians 5:17. The old may knock at the door, but it no longer owns the house. I am dwelling within you, and where I reign. Chaos is not permitted to be king. My beloved child, there are seasons when you are misunderstood, not because you have done wrong, but because the light within you has begun to expose what others do not want to face. Do not quickly treat every opposition as an accusation against your worth. There are people who cannot find any true fault in you, so they will try to create another story to dim what I have placed within you. But remember this, your identity is not written by the tongues of men, nor can it be erased by whispers spoken in darkness. I am the one who calls your name from the secret place, and what I have spoken over your life cannot be destroyed by jealousy, suspicion, or groundless accusation. As it is written, no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. Isaiah 54:17. That verse does not mean you will never hear words of opposition, but it does mean those words have no authority to rule over your destiny when you are in my hands. Look again at Daniel with deeper eyes. My child, he was not thrown into danger because he lacked faithfulness, but because he was so faithful that others could not bear his integrity. Those who envied him searched for fault in his work, in his way of life, and in his responsibilities, but they found nothing by which to accuse him. In the end, they had to use his very life of prayer as a trap. Do you see? Sometimes what others oppose is not your weakness, but your devotion. Yet I did not allow the lion's den to become Daniel's grave. I turned that place into a platform to reveal my power. When the king came near the den and called out to him, Daniel was still alive, because I had sent my angel to shut the lions' mouths. As the psalm says, the angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. Psalm 34:7. Therefore, if there are times when you feel you have been brought into a place where others expect you to fall, remember that I can make that very place become a testimony that I am still with you. What I want you to understand is that vague weariness, waves of pressure with no clear source, and repeated collisions that make your mind feel heavy are not always signs that you are growing weaker. Many times, they are signs that you are drawing near to a level of maturity that darkness does not want you to touch. The adversary can sense the shift before you yourself can see its full shape. It knows that when you pass through this door, you will no longer be so easily led by praise or criticism. It knows that when your faith is forged more deeply, you will become a place where others can see hope. It knows that when you learn to stand firm in peace, the noises that once shook you will lose their power over you. So it tries to sow fear before you step onto a new level, and it tries to make you doubt before you realize you have already been prepared. But I have spoken. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. 2 Timothy 1:7. You do not need to let confusion explain your life in my place. Therefore, my beloved child, do not let opposition make you forget my presence. Do not let distorted words cause you to shrink yourself down. Do not let temporary waves of weariness convince you that you do not have enough strength to continue. I do not call you with a fragile calling, and I do not entrust you with a journey that my grace is not sufficient to sustain. My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. If today you find yourself trembling, lean on me. If you feel your heart weighed down by nameless burdens, lay them down before me. If you see old doors closing, trust that I know which door belongs to your next season. You do not need to fight in your own strength to protect your reputation, for a faithful life will speak louder than temporary accusations. Keep walking forward with a faith that has been purified, My child, let your eyes look through the disruption and see my hand rearranging what must be set in order. Let your ears listen deeper than the noise so you may recognize my voice calling you forward. What is happening around you is not always an ending. Many times, it is the sound of a foundation being reset for a higher level. And when the appointed time comes, you will look back on these days with gratitude, because you will understand that I did not allow opposition to swallow you. I used it to refine your discernment, deepen your faith, strengthen your spirit, and prepare you for a position you were not yet strong enough to carry before. I am with you in the lion's den, in the silent palace, in the night of being misunderstood, and in the day of testing. And because I am with you, what seems to oppose you will not be able to defeat you. It will have to serve what I am completing within you. My beloved child, let your soul settle into holy peace. For I do not open your eyes to hidden movements, so that you may live in fear, but so that you may no longer be led by vague and uncertain things. I do not want you to become obsessed with darkness, nor do I want you to look at everyone with suspicious eyes. I only want you to mature to the point where you can distinguish between the noise that confuses you and my word that leads you into life. As it is written, test the spirits, whether they are of God. 1 John 4:1. Because not every thought that enters your heart is worthy of being welcomed by you, and not every emotion that rises within you has the right to sit on the throne of judgment over your life. There are disturbances that are only dust rising as you step away from an old path. If you stop merely because of the dust, you will forget that I am still leading you forward. Therefore, when misunderstandings arise, when someone sees you wrongly, when truth is mixed with falsehood, do not immediately lose the integrity within your heart. I am teaching you a deeper steadfastness, not a steadfastness that exists because no one opposes you, but a steadfastness that remains even when you are misunderstood, and yet you do not allow your heart to become hardened. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Matthew 5:8. And a pure heart is not a heart that has never been wounded, but a heart that has been tested and still refuses to choose darkness in response to darkness. When a lie dressed in half-truth comes near you, bring it into my presence. If a thought makes you shrink back in fear, makes you forget the identity I have placed upon you, and makes you see yourself as one abandoned, then know this: that is not the voice of your Father. My voice may correct, but it does not crush. It may awaken you, but it does not drive you into despair. It may lead you to repentance, but it always opens a way for you to return to the light. The first thing darkness often targets is not your circumstances, but the way you see yourself. It does not need to tear down everything outwardly if it can make you doubt inwardly. It will come with very small questions that seem harmless. Did you really hear correctly? Are you truly strong enough? Is that promise truly meant for you? But my child, remember the word I have spoken through Scripture. In all these things we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. Romans 8:37. You do not overcome because you always feel strong. You overcome because I am holding you in an unshakable love. When self-doubt knocks at the door, do not argue with it in panic. Stand still. Take hold of the truth and speak to your soul. I belong to God. I am being led. I am being kept. I am not the voice of fear, but a child called in the light. Remember Gideon, my child, a man who once saw himself through a lens of smallness and fear. When my angel came to him, he was threshing wheat in a hidden place because he feared the Midianites. Yet the word from heaven called him a mighty man of valor. Judges 6:12. Do you see? I do not call you according to your temporary trembling appearance. I call you according to what I placed within you from the beginning. Gideon saw the weakness of his family, the smallness of his clan, and the lack in his hands. but I saw a man who could rise up to deliver the people when he learned to believe my word more than his fear. So it is with you. There may be days when you feel insufficient, but I do not rely on that feeling to decide your future. I do not need you to magnify yourself. I only need you not to bury what I have sown within you. When I call, grace accompanies that calling. And when old emotions return, do not see that as proof that you have not changed. Many times, the old is only testing whether it still has a way in. Former reactions may try to find their way back, wanting to defend yourself too quickly, wanting to withdraw out of fear of being hurt, wanting to doubt before there is enough light, wanting to chase human approval. But I am teaching you to live in your new identity. Put on the new man, which was created according to God, in righteousness and true holiness. Ephesians 4:24. That new self is not formed in a single moment of heightened emotion, but is forged through every quiet choice, choosing silence instead of a bitter response, choosing prayer instead of analyzing yourself into exhaustion, choosing trust instead of building walls of fear, choosing the light even while darkness invites you through familiar paths. Therefore, do not be afraid when opposition seems to gather together. Let your soul smile in faith, not because you take the battle lightly, but because you know I have gone before you. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Deuteronomy 31:8. What is being stirred around you is not always a sign of collapse. Many times, it is the sound of an upgrade drawing near. Darkness does not oppose what poses no threat to it. If it tries to discourage you, it is because it recognizes that what I have placed within you is able to shine farther than you imagine. If it tries to twist the story about you, it is because it fears your life becoming a testimony. If it tries to weary you before the door opens, it is because it knows that once you pass through in maturity, it will no longer be able to pull you back so easily into the old path. So keep walking, my child. Keep building what I have entrusted to you, even while there is still noise around you. Keep your heart tender, even while you have not yet been rightly understood. Keep trusting, even while some doors remain closed. Every time you choose light instead of a dark reaction, you are drawing nearer to the position I have appointed for you. Every time you place a thought beneath the feet of truth, you are reclaiming territory in your mind. Every time you refuse to let fear define you, you are growing in the authority of being my child. I will not allow any scheme to derail what I have written with love and wisdom, even in the midst of disruption. I am still writing your story of glory, even among mixed and confusing voices. I am still calling you with a pure voice, and even in the place where darkness thought it could shake you, I am making you stand firmer, shine brighter, and grow deeper, so that your life may become proof that those who take refuge in me will not be put to shame. My beloved child, let this sink deep into the quietest place of your soul. The waves of opposition do not come because you are worthless, nor because you are failing. Many times, they rise precisely because you are leaving the dark place that once held you in delay, doubt, and the habit of making yourself small. Darkness does not need to make noise around someone who has already given up. It is only disturbed when it sees a lamp beginning to burn brightly in the very place where it was once accustomed to ruling. Therefore, when you notice words becoming distorted, glances becoming difficult to understand, and circumstances suddenly piling up as though they want to weigh your heart down, do not be quick to conclude that you have taken the wrong path. Remember the word I have spoken. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. If the light within you had no value, darkness would not need to try to cover it. If what I placed within you carried no spiritual weight, those waves of disruption would not gather together to distract you. I want you to look at what is happening with eyes washed clean by faith. Opposition is only a reaction, but my will is the foundation. The voices rising around you are only noise, but the word I have spoken over your life is covenant. The schemes formed in darkness may weary you for a time, but they cannot rewrite what I have appointed in eternity. As it is written, the counsel of the Lord stands forever, the plans of his heart from generation to generation. Psalm 33:11. You do not need to live as though everything rests in the hands of those who misunderstand you, those who judge you, or the circumstances that are testing you. No, my child, your life is not in the hands of rumors. Your life is not in the hands of jealousy. Your life is not in the hands of conversations to which you were never invited. Your life is in my hands, and my hand does not tremble before any darkness. There are times when you want to rise up and explain yourself, to correct every false word, to prove every misunderstood intention, to run to every door and say that you are not what they think you are. But I am teaching you a higher wisdom. Not every distortion deserves your strength. Not every accusation requires you to step down from your place of peace in order to argue. Sometimes silence in me is not weakness, but mature trust. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Psalm 37:7. Because there are matters that, if you defend yourself through emotion, will only wear you down. But if you place them into my hands, I will handle them with perfect righteousness. I do not only see what others say, I see the motive behind their words. I do not only hear what is spoken, I hear what is hidden within the heart. And because I see more deeply than you do, I also know how to vindicate you more rightly than you can vindicate yourself. My vindication does not look like what human beings often expect. It does not always come through a great confrontation, a public apology, or a moment when everyone immediately realizes they were wrong. Many times, I vindicate you by placing grace upon your life so clearly that no distortion can deny it. I vindicate you by keeping you in peace when you should have fallen apart. I vindicate you by causing the fruit of your life to continue growing, even when some once questioned your roots. I vindicate you by preparing a table for you in the presence of your enemies. As it is written, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Psalm 23:5. Do you see? I did not say that I would always remove the enemies before I bless you. Sometimes I set the table right before them, so they may know that what I give you does not require their permission. My beloved child, let your heart rest in this. I am going before you. I am standing behind you, and I am covering you. I am not only preventing evil from swallowing you, I am also turning what seemed to oppose you into a platform for your maturity. What others use to shame you, I can turn into the place where you learn humility. What darkness uses to make you doubt, I can turn into the place where your faith takes deeper root. What wounds you because you are misunderstood, I can use to teach you no longer to depend on human approval. For I have spoken, if God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:31. That verse does not promise that no one will ever oppose you, but it declares that no opposition is greater than the one who is with you. There are times when you think your silence is a disadvantage, that if you do not answer back, defend yourself immediately, or prove every detail, others will misunderstand you forever. But I want you to learn a higher truth. Not every battle is won by words, and not every act of righteousness requires you to seize it for yourself before the eyes of the world. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Psalm 37:5. When you place your honor in my hands, you do not lose your voice. You simply entrust it to the one who knows how to speak at the right time. I do not lift you up so that you may stand above others in pride, but so that you may stand firm in what I wrote for you before you even knew how to name your destiny. The righteous do not grow like the palm tree, in order to boast of their height before the desert, but to testify that their roots have found deep waters. As it is written, "The righteous shall flourish like a palm tree," Psalm 92:12, "and in due season. Their shade and sweet fruit will speak louder than every defense." Therefore, do not regard the movements of darkness as a prophecy of failure. Do not let its noise become a declaration over your mind. Those disturbances are only the clashing sounds of what is old, as it is being forced to leave the place it once occupied. Self-doubt is not your new name. Relationships that once pulled you backward are not the anchor of your destiny. Persistent distractions have no right to steal the focus I am restoring within you. You are learning to walk as one who has been called, not as one who must always ask fear for permission. As I have spoken, stand fast, therefore, in the liberty by which Christ has made us free. And do not be entangled again with a yoke of bondage. Galatians 5:1. Your freedom is not only escape from what is outside. Freedom is when the old calls your name, but you no longer turn your head as you once did. So, when you feel yourself standing on the boundary between the old and the new, do not tremble because of the shaking beneath your feet. Sometimes the ground moves not because you are about to fall, but because a door long locked is beginning to open. Sometimes the whispers around you are not a sign that your path is growing darker, but evidence that my light is drawing nearer to the places that were once covered. Be watchful, but do not be tense. Discern, but do not become suspicious of everything. Be wise, but do not allow wisdom to become bitter defensiveness. Be watchful. Stand firm in the faith. Be strong. 1 Corinthians 16:13. But the strength I give is not cold hardness. It is a steadfastness that knows how to love, knows how to be silent at the right time, and knows how to keep walking without letting old wounds hold the reins. I am preparing a table before you, my child, and that table is not set in a place where there is no opposition, right in the midst of doubtful eyes, among the words that once tried to bring you low, in the very place where some thought you would not overcome. I can still anoint your head with oil and make your cup overflow. For you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, Psalm 23:5. But you must understand, that table is not for you to sit down with a proud heart. It is a sign that my grace cannot be blocked by human resistance. When I lift you up, you do not need to throw back the stones that were once thrown at you. You only need to sit in the right place. Keep your heart clean, keep your eyes clear, and keep your hands from reactions that are lower than the identity I have given you. Therefore, continue walking under my shadow, not under the shadow of fear, not under the shadow of other people's words, and not under the shadow of the forces that once wanted to pull you down. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty, Psalm 91:1. That is your place, not the place of display, not the place of retaliation, not the place of trying to prove yourself, but the place of being covered, being led, and being sent. When I speak the appointed time, you will step out, not loudly, but clearly, not proudly, but with authority, not carrying the burden of making others regret what they did, but carrying the mission of making the light visible. And you will understand that everything once meant to lower you has been used by me to make your roots deeper. Every disturbance that once wearied you has become an awakening bell. Every door that closed at the wrong time has protected you from being led astray. Stand firm, my child. The dawn is nearer than you think, and the sound you hear within your soul is not the sound of an ending, but the sound of a new season opening under my hand. My beloved child, if there are times when you feel as though you have been placed in an invisible courtroom, where rumors, silent glances, and unspoken assumptions surround you like false witnesses, then let your heart return to me before it runs after fear. You do not live under the final verdict of human tongues. You are not defined by the stories others build when they have not fully understood you. You are not the sentence the accuser wants to write upon your soul. I am the one seated upon the throne of righteousness. And as it is written, the Lord is righteous in all his ways, gracious in all his works. Psalm 145:17. Therefore, do not let one whisper make you forget the voice of your Father. Do not let one misunderstanding pull you down from the place of peace where I have set you. Do not defend yourself through anger, because anger can distort your words. But silence in me will keep your heart from being controlled by darkness. I see what you cannot see. My child, I see which words are spoken from truth, and which words are wrapped in a reasonable appearance, but are born from jealousy, fear, or unhealed wounds. I see the motives hidden beneath sentences that seem harmless. I also see the tears you swallowed back when you chose not to answer. Do not think that endurance has been forgotten. Before me, nothing pure is buried forever, and no deceit can hide itself for eternity. For God will bring every work into judgment, including every secret thing, Ecclesiastes 12:14. But I do not want you to live by the desire to see others brought low. I want you to live by the trust that my justice is both holy and perfectly timed. There are matters that, if you try to handle them in your own strength, will weary your soul, but if you place them into my hands, I will arrange them in a way that does not cause you to lose your purity. Therefore, when you feel compelled to chase after every rumor in order to correct it, to open every door in order to explain, to prove to every person that you are not as wrong as they think, stop beneath my shadow. There are truths that do not need to be defended with haste. There are honors that are not preserved by argument, but by a long and faithful life. As I spoke to Israel before the Red Sea, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. That stillness is not fear. It is trust that has learned to let me go before you. When you are silent at the right time, you are not losing. You are refusing to hand control of your heart over to provocation. When you do not enter into useless arguments, you are not giving up. You are protecting the peace I paid a price to give you. When you choose prayer instead of reaction, you are declaring that the true courtroom belongs to me. Look again also at the story of Esther through a deeper light. Haman's scheme was sealed with the king's signet, seeming impossible to reverse. And my people stood before a cold sentence. But darkness was mistaken when it thought its document was stronger than my providence. I had placed Esther in the palace before the disaster appeared. I caused the king to have a sleepless night so that what had been forgotten would be read again. I turned the gallows built by the wicked into the very place where that scheme itself was exposed. Do you see? I do not only come when you cry for help. Many times, I have already prepared the way of escape before you even know danger is taking shape. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54:17 does not mean that no weapon will ever be forged, but that those weapons are not given the right to decide your ending. The adversary may plan in secret rooms, but I move from a throne higher than every hidden room. Therefore, my beloved child, do not let invisible waves make you forget that I am the one who rules the sea. There are words that make your heart ache, silences that cause you to wonder what others are thinking, and circumstances that make you feel as though you are being judged without being allowed to speak. But I do not need the incomplete testimony of human beings in order to understand the truth. I know the beginning and the end. I weigh all things with a righteous scale, not bribed by emotion, not deceived by outward appearance, not rushed by the pressure of the crowd. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. Because I look at the heart, you do not need to display yourself in desperation. Keep living in the light. Keep your hands clean. Let your words come from gentleness. Let your steps walk in integrity. And do not let your heart drink the poison of bitterness. I am sheltering you like a mother bird, spreading her wings over her young. But that covering does not make you weak, it makes you steadfast. He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you shall take refuge. Psalm 91:4. Under my wings. You learn not to startle at every sound. Under my wings. You learn that righteousness does not need to shout in order to carry weight. Under my wings. You learn that what is distorted today can be made clear by me tomorrow in a way cleaner than any argument you could make. Remain there, my child. Let me be your refuge, your defender, and the final voice over your story. Then you will see that when my appointed time comes, truth will not need to force its way forward in order to be recognized. It will rise in my light. The things once used to make you tremble will become testimonies that I kept you. The words that once tried to cast a shadow over your honor will be surpassed by the good fruit of your life. The hidden rooms where people discuss you will not be able to stand against the secret place where you pray with me. So be at peace, my beloved child. Do not let the accuser pull you out from under my shadow. Do not let temporary injustice cause you to lose eternal character. I am the righteous judge, the one who turns situations around, the one who shuts the mouths of lions, the one who rebukes the accuser, the one who opens the Red Sea, and the one who makes a way where no one can see a way. You only need to stand firm in me. Walk cleanly before me, and trust that when I speak, no distortion can stand stronger than my truth over your life. My beloved child, stop looking around with eyes that are always searching for danger, and lift your gaze with a heart that needs to receive its assurance from me. I have not called you to live like someone always bracing for every shadow that moves, always guessing what others are thinking, always listening to whispers with no clear source. I have called you to live as one set upon the rock, as one who knows that even if the wind blows, even if clouds gather, even if the voices around you change their tone, the one who keeps you does not change. As it is written, you will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you. Isaiah 26:3. That peace does not come because every circumstance is silent, but because your heart has found the right place to be anchored. Darkness may gather in hidden corners, but it does not sit on the throne. It may speak, but it has no authority to render the verdict. It may create shadows that make you afraid, but my light only needs to shine, and every false thing will lose its power to remain concealed. There are moments when you sigh and wonder why so many things seem to become heavy all at once. Why relationships that once felt familiar suddenly become difficult to understand. Why places where you once felt safe begin to reveal their cracks. I hear that sigh. My child, I hear even what you cannot yet put into words. But I want you to understand this. Not everything is turning its back on you. There are things I am turning over so that you will no longer live in uncertainty. I do not allow light to shine into your life in order to shame you, but so that you may see what truly belongs to me, and what was only a shell you once clung to, because you feared emptiness. Everything exposed by the light becomes visible. Ephesians 5:13. And when my light reveals, its purpose is not to break you apart, but to separate you from the silent cords that have held your feet for far too long. You once feared the truth because you thought the truth would wound you more deeply. But my child, truth in my hands is not a sword to condemn you. It is a key that opens the prison door. There are things that, when first exposed, make your heart tremble, because you realize you endured longer than you thought, stayed silent before things that should have been brought into the light, and called bondage normal, simply because you had become too familiar with it. but my word still stands firm. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. John 8:32. Truth does not only free you from the lies of others, it also frees you from the lies you unconsciously believed about yourself. It removes from you the garment of self-blame, cuts the cords of fear, and leads you out of the half-lit room where you once wondered whether you were worthy of freedom. Remember the Samaritan woman beside the well. She came in the heat of the day, avoiding the eyes of the people, carrying a history full of cracks and a thirst that no water jar could satisfy. But when my son met her, he did not expose her life in order to crush her. He spoke the truth to her with holiness and mercy, so that she would recognize that what she was seeking could not be found in the old wells. He said, "Whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him will never thirst." John 4. Sure said. Do you see? Truth, when it comes from me, always opens the way to living water. It may touch the wounded place, but it does not leave you lying there. It may name what has been hidden, but it does not use that thing to define you. That woman left the well no longer as one who was hiding. She became one who ran into the city to testify. What had once been a place of shame became a place of encounter with grace. Therefore, if I am peeling away from your soul the cobwebs of confusion, the small compromises, the old dependencies, the fears hidden beneath the appearance of normality, then do not resist my hand. When a room that has long been shut is opened, dust may rise before fresh air comes in. When a wound is washed clean, you may feel the sting before it heals. But I am not doing this so that you may suffer loss. I am doing it so that you may become whole. As it is written, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147. 3. I do not merely point out what needs to be healed. I am the healer. I do not merely expose the chains. I also bring the key. I do not merely call you out of darkness. I also walk beside you until your eyes grow accustomed to the light. Then you will see that when the disturbance settles, you will not merely remain intact, but you will become deeper, brighter, and freer. The things that once frightened you will no longer control you as they once did. The whispers that once made you dizzy will be exposed by the light for what they truly are. The empty places that once made you panic will become the places where I pour out my presence. Keep walking forward with the peace of one who is covered. For the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Psalm 27:1. You do not need to race after rumors. You do not need to live under the shadow of assumptions. And you do not need to defend yourself against everything that is unclear. You only need to remain in my light. Walk in my truth, and let me do the part that only I can do. Therefore, my beloved child, lift your eyes. The affirmation you need does not come from those who are misunderstanding you, nor from circumstances that change from day to day. It comes from me, the one who has called you by name, who has seen you in the secret place, who knew you before you knew yourself. When I bring clarity, my righteousness may not be loud, but it will be full of power. When I set you free, you will not only be pulled out of what bound you, but also taught how not to return. And when you stand on the other side of this season, you will understand that I did not allow the truth to destroy you. I used the truth to open a door. I did not allow the light to shame you. I used the light to bring you back into wholeness. Be at peace, my child. What is being exposed is not meant to end you, but to begin within you a deeper level of freedom, where you no longer live half in light and half in shadow, but walk fully beneath the brightness of my light. My beloved child, when a place that once made you feel safe suddenly becomes cold, when someone who once stood close to you turns away, when a door closes with a sound that makes your heart ache, do not be quick to call it the end of your life. There are departures that are not final losses. but transitions held in my hand. You only see yourself being pushed out of what is familiar, but I see you being brought out of the small cage you once mistook for shelter. You only see a chapter being torn from your hands, but I see the whole book being written with eternal wisdom. As it is written, all things work together for good to those who love God, Romans 8:28. Not because everything that happens is good, but because I have the authority to make even painful things serve my redemptive purpose for your life. There are betrayals that make you tremble not only because someone else has walked away, but because they cause you to doubt your own ability to discern. You ask yourself why you trusted, why you opened your heart, why you did not see beforehand the cracks hidden behind beautiful words. But, my child, do not use today's pain to condemn the heart that once loved. A wounded heart is not a foolish heart, many times. It is a heart that dared to live truthfully in a world full of concealment. I do not blame you for having trusted. I am only teaching you from now on to trust with greater clarity, to love with holier boundaries, and to walk no longer by uncertainty, but by the light I give. The path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, shining brighter and brighter until the full day, Proverbs 4:18. And that light often begins with me exposing the places you once did not dare to look. Therefore, when everything seems to be overturned all at once, do not see it as collapse. Sometimes it is I who am removing the old veils, not to leave you empty, but so that you will no longer live in a false peace. You had grown used to half-truths, unclear relationships, promises without foundation, and small compromises that you called stability because you were afraid to begin again. But I love you too deeply to let you build your future on soft ground. As my son said, great was its fall when the house was built on sand. Matthew 7:27. I do not allow that false house to fall because I hate you. I show you the weak foundation so that you may be rebuilt upon the true rock. The first work of purification may make you feel loss, but afterward you will realize this: what departed from you could not carry the destiny I have prepared for you. Remember Hagar, the woman who was sent into the wilderness with her son, left with only a skin of water running dry and a future that seemed to have closed. She wept in the desert, thinking her story would end in scorching heat and loneliness. But I heard the voice of the child, and my angel called to her in the wilderness. Then I opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water that despair had previously hidden from her sight. Do you see? The desert is not always the place where I abandon you. Many times, it is the place where I open your eyes to see a source of water you had never recognized before. God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, Genesis 21:19. Perhaps you too are standing in such a wilderness, where what was familiar has run out. The one who once sheltered you is no longer there, and your heart feels as though there is no way forward. But I speak to you, lift your eyes. There is a well in the place you call a desert. There is new life in the place where you thought only tears remained. You must understand that I do not approve of injustice simply because I allow you to pass through it. I do not call what is wrong right. I do not call betrayal holy, and I do not call the wound light. I see clearly every single thing that has hurt you. I know who said what, who stayed silent when they should have protected you, who used your trust as a pathway to wound you. But I am also the one greater than the arrangements of darkness. It may set the battle in order, but I am the one who writes the map. It may think it is pushing you into a dead end, but I can turn that dead end into a turning path that leads you into new territory. The Lord brings the counsel of the nations to nothing. He makes the plans of the peoples of no effect. Psalm 33:10. You do not need to understand all my ways in order to trust that I am still leading. You only need to place your trembling hand in mine and take one more step in the light. There are tears of yours that have fallen where no one saw, but I have counted every one. You number my wanderings. Put my tears into your bottle. Psalm 56:8. Not one of them is wasted in my kingdom. Your tears may have fallen upon the soil of loss, but in my hands, they become a stream that waters your season of maturity. What wounds you today may become the place where you receive wisdom tomorrow. What once made you afraid to trust people may become the place where I teach you discernment without allowing you to lose love. What once made you feel rejected may become the doorway that leads you into a healthier community, a clearer mission, and a deeper foundation in me. Therefore, my beloved child, do not cling to a false place of safety simply because it is familiar. Do not call chains peace merely because they make no sound. Do not fear the truth when truth comes in, my light. For the truth shall make you free. John 8:32. I expose not to humiliate you, but to set you free. I remove not to leave you empty-handed, but so that your hands may have room to receive what is new. I allow the old door to close, not so that you may stand outside in the cold, but so that you will no longer return to a place that could not nourish the life I have placed within you. Keep walking, even if slowly, but walk in truth. Let your heart be purified from bitterness. Let your eyes be opened like Hagar beside the well, and believe that behind everything being overturned, I am not destroying you, I am freeing you, rebuilding you, and bringing you into a wider land, where you no longer live half in light and half in shadow, but stand firm in the fullness of my freedom. My beloved child, I did not promise you that when truth is brought into the light, your heart will not hurt. There are things long hidden that, when opened, will make your soul ache like a wound being washed with clean water. But hear me deeply. That pain does not come to kill you. It comes to heal you. It does not come to make you fall apart. It comes to separate you from the layers of confusion that have wrapped around your heart for far too long. Sometimes you call it loss, but in my hands, it is an unbinding. Sometimes you call it betrayal, but in my plan, it is a transition. Sometimes you think everything has turned against you all at once, but in truth, I am lifting each dark corner so that light may enter the places you once did not dare to face. As it is written, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. John 8:32. My truth is not a stone thrown at you, but a key that unlocks the chains from your soul. Therefore, do not be afraid when hidden things begin to come to light. Do not quickly conclude that your life is collapsing simply because old structures can no longer stand. There are roofs I must take down because they no longer shelter you, but only keep you enclosed in familiar darkness. There are relationships I must expose not to make you bitter, but to stop you from placing your destiny into the hands of people who were never entrusted with the authority to hold it. It may hurt when you realize who was not sincere, who stayed silent when they should have stood beside you, and who used closeness as a way to wound you. But I want you to look deeper. What is being exposed is not meant to make you lose faith in love. It has come to teach you to love with wisdom, to trust with discernment, and to walk in the light instead of in half-truths. Look again at David, my child, but do not look at him with overly simple eyes. His pain did not come only from the battlefield, nor only from distant enemies, but from Saul himself, the one who had been in a position that should have protected, guided, and covered him. David served faithfully, played the harp to soothe the king's troubled heart, fought for the people, and brought victory to the house of Israel. Yet the spear was hurled at him from the very place where he had served with all his heart. Do you see? Some of the deepest wounds do not come from strangers, but from those you once expected to recognize your worth. But I did not allow the caves, the pursuit, and the years of being misunderstood to become the final chapter of David's story. I used that very wilderness to forge him into a king who knew how to depend on me. As David declared, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear?" Psalm 27:1. That sentence was not born in the comfort of a peaceful palace, but refined in the days when he was being hunted. My child, if you have ever been wounded by the very place that should have supported you, I do not take that pain lightly. I do not tell you to pretend it did not happen, nor do I tell you to call what is wrong right. But I speak this over you: do not let that cut become your name. Do not let betrayal turn you into someone who doubts every hand that reaches toward you. Do not let one Saul in your life make you forget that I still have Jonathan, that I still have people whom I send to remind you that faithful love still exists. And above all, do not let injustice cause you to lose the heart I have chosen. David had the opportunity to kill Saul, but he did not allow pain to turn him into a man of revenge. He spoke with holy reverence, saying that he would not stretch out his hand against my anointed. Do you see? David's great victory was not only that he sat upon the throne. The greater victory was that he did not allow the process of being wounded to pollute his soul before he stepped into that throne. I also want you to remember Jeremiah, the one I called from his mother's womb, yet who was opposed by the very people to whom he was sent to give warning. He did not proclaim what was easy to hear, nor did he speak in order to be praised, but he carried my word like fire in his bones. At one point, he was thrown into a muddy cistern, sinking in a cold place, seemingly forgotten by those who did not want to hear the truth. But I did not allow that pit to swallow him. I used Ebed-Melech, a man who seemed to stand on the margins of power, to pull him up out of the deep mud. Do you see? When others push you down through injustice, I can still send a hand from a place you did not expect to lift you up. As it is written, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Jeremiah 1:5. What you are going through cannot erase the consecration I placed upon you from the beginning. Therefore, when you ask, "Why is everything coming against me all at once?" let me change that question within your soul. Ask instead, "Father, what are you leading me out of? Where are you bringing me into? What are you allowing me to see that I once did not have the courage to face?" For there are seasons when I do not merely comfort you, I deliver you. There are seasons when I do not merely wipe away your tears, I also show you the source from which those tears have flowed. There are seasons when I do not merely close a door, I also show you that the room behind that door no longer had air for you to breathe. I will lead the blind by a way they do not know, in paths they have not known. I will guide them. Isaiah 42:16. You may not understand every turn, but I do not lead you through darkness without purpose. Not one of your steps falls outside my sight. Not one event goes beyond my sovereign rule. What darkness uses as a siege, I can turn into a corridor. What you thought was being pushed out, I can turn into being brought forward. What you thought was losing your place, I can use to set your feet upon a firmer foundation. The steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. Psalm 37:23. And though he may stumble, he will not be cast down, because my hand upholds him. Therefore, do not measure your future by your present pain. Do not use a moment of abandonment to conclude that I am no longer with you. I am right there in it, closer than your sigh, closer than the tear that falls in the night. Stand firm, my beloved child. Let the truth do its work, and let me do my part. You do not need to cling to uncertainty simply because it is familiar. You do not need to return to the place that once made you small, simply because you fear the empty space ahead. That emptiness is not abandonment, it is the space I am preparing to place something new. When I complete what I am doing, you will look back and understand that you are not being opposed from every side. You were being led by me through every side to arrive at the place I had appointed. You will no longer speak with the voice of complaint, saying that everything turned its back on you, but with reverence and gratitude, saying, Father turned everything over so that I could come out of confusion, out of chain, out of places half in light and half in shadow, and enter into the land of freedom where my soul can breathe, can stand, can love, can discern, and can keep walking beneath his unfailing light. My beloved child, do not let anyone diminish the pain you have had to carry. There are wounds that do not bleed before the eyes of the world, but they have quietly made your soul tremble through many seasons. There are words that seem to pass by quickly, but when they fell into the heart of a child who needed to be loved, they became thorns buried deep in memory. I am not telling you to deny that. I do not call your hurt weakness, nor do I ask you to smile in order to prove that you are strong, while within you there are still rooms that have never been touched by light. As it is written, the Lord is near to those who have a broken heart, and saves such as have a contrite spirit. Psalm 34:18. Do you see? I do not stand far away and tell you to heal yourself. I draw near to the very place where you hurt the most, not to dig up the past in condemnation, but to place my hand upon it and say, you no longer need to hide this from me. Perhaps others have called what you went through a small matter, but in my eyes, no honest tear is small. I saw the nights when you wondered why love could be accompanied by coldness. I heard the questions you did not dare to speak aloud, why the one who should have protected you made you afraid, why the place that should have been a home became the place where you had to shrink back, why justice sometimes seems to come too late. My child, I defend you not so that you may nourish bitterness, but so that you may be separated from the power of darkness that once operated through words, glances, comparison, and silences that wounded you. I will heal their backsliding. I will love them freely. Hosea 14:4. My healing does not merely cover the surface, it goes down to the root, to the place where you once learned to blame yourself for things that were never your fault. I did not create you to live forever beneath the feet of the voices that once made you small. You were not made to ask permission to exist, permission to breathe, permission to rejoice, permission to stand upright in the light. If anyone ever made you believe that you only had value when you pleased them, let me uproot that lie completely from your heart. You belonged to me before you belonged to any role in a family, before anyone recognized you, before you knew how you were supposed to prove yourself. I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. Isaiah 43:1. Your identity did not begin with human approval, so it cannot end with human rejection. You were created to stand, but to stand in humility, in truth, and in peace, not in pride or bitterness. Therefore, do not be afraid to open the corners of your heart that you once locked away. You locked them not because you were evil, but because you were trying to survive. Yet what helped you survive in the old season is not necessarily what will help you be free in the new one. I want to step into those rooms, not as an intruder, but as a compassionate father holding a lamp in his hand. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me, and know my thoughts. Psalm 139:23. When you allow me to search you, I do not shame you. I simply show you where pain still remains, where fear is still hiding, and where the voice of others is still speaking louder than mine. And little by little, I will replace shrinking back with courage, self-blame with truth, and fearful silence with peace that has holy boundaries. Family wounds are not something I take lightly. I know the weight of wounds that come from bloodlines, from the home, from the very people who should have been a place of refuge. But my child, I also do not allow them to become chains passed down from generation to generation. I want you to be the stopping point of that darkness. Where others spoke with bitterness, you learned to speak with truth and grace. Where others controlled through fear, you learned to love with freedom and holy boundaries. Where others wounded because they had not been healed, you bring your wound to me so that it does not become a weapon in your hands. If the Son makes you free, you shall be free indeed. John 8:36. True freedom is not only leaving the place that hurt you, it is when that place no longer controls the way you love, the way you live, or the way you see yourself. Let me set everything within you back into divine order. My beloved child, I will not allow the spears once thrown at you to rewrite your destiny. David escaped Saul's spear, but what mattered even more was that he did not allow that spear to turn him into another Saul. So it is with you. Unjust words may have touched your emotions, but they do not have the authority to define your soul. He who judges me is the Lord, 1 Corinthians 4:4. And when I am the one who renders judgment, every temporary verdict of man must bow before eternal truth. Come near to me with a heart that no longer needs to pretend. Give me the stories you have hidden for far too long. I will not break you. I will heal you, lift you up, cleanse you, and teach you to stand in an identity no longer covered by the shadow of an old generation. You are not only being saved from pain, you are being called to become the beginning of a new flow, where my light passes through you and touches those who come after you with freedom, gentleness, and life. My beloved child, there are seasons when you think you have been left behind, but in truth, you are being held in the palm of my hand so that your inner eyes may be washed clean. You see others passing through wide open doors, while you stand before thresholds that quietly keep closing. And there were moments when your heart wondered whether I had forgotten you. But I speak to you with the tenderness of a father. I have not forgotten. I am preparing you. There are things that, if they come too soon, will become burdens instead of blessings. There are positions that, if you step into them while your heart is still led by fear, you will mistake noise for calling, opportunity for destiny, and haste for faith. That is why I have allowed you to remain in the secret place. Not to punish you, but to teach you to hear my voice more clearly than the voice of your own anxiety. Whoever believes will not act hastily. Isaiah 28:16. For true faith does not run in panic. True faith knows how to stand still beneath the shadow of my wings until its next step is born from peace. My child, the pauses in your life are not meaningless, empty spaces. They are sacred rooms where I separate you from old ways of seeing, old reactions, and old definitions of yourself. There are days when you want to push everything to move faster. But I see what you do not yet see. A weary heart may grasp a blessing as something to prove its worth. A wounded soul may use a new door to escape an old pain. Eyes that have not yet been purified may call something dazzling light, when it is only the glitter of an illusion. Therefore, I would rather let you move slowly under my protection than quickly in the wrong direction. The way of the Lord is perfect, Psalm 18:30, and that perfection does not always follow the rhythm of your impatient heart, but it always serves your true life. Remember David, the youngest son in the wilderness, the one who was anointed king but did not immediately sit upon the throne. After the holy oil flowed upon his head, he still returned to the sheep. He still walked through years of being misunderstood, pursued, and driven into the cave of Adullam, a place that looked nothing like a palace. Yet it was precisely in that narrow place that I formed a king whose heart remained tender before me. If David had stepped onto the throne too early, he might have worn the crown without yet being able to carry the heart of a shepherd. But when the appointed time came, what I had spoken did not lose its power. Do you see? The anointing may come before the manifestation. The promise may be planted before the harvest. The calling may be confirmed in the hidden place before it is recognized among the crowd. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in Him, and He will bring it to pass. Psalm 37:5. I do not merely bring to pass what I have promised. I also bring to completion the person who can carry what I have promised without being corrupted by it. Therefore, when I begin to remove from you the coverings of the former season, do not be quick to cling to them again, simply because they are familiar. There are ways of thinking that once made you feel safe, but have now become a cage. There are attachments that once gave you the feeling of belonging, but within them was mixed the fear of being abandoned. There are words you once spoke over yourself that you are not enough, that you always arrive too late, that you are unworthy to receive what is good, and now those words must be broken by my light. For I do not call you lacking, I call you beloved. One, created with purpose. If a son, then also an heir. Galatians 4:7. You do not need to live like someone standing outside the door, begging for crumbs of grace, when I have prepared for you an inheritance in my presence. Perhaps the first clarity will make you tremble, because you will recognize that some things you once clung to did not truly come from me. But my beloved, do not fear the truth when it is placed in my hands. My truth does not come to expose you in shame, but to clothe you with a new garment of freedom. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119:105. That lamp does not illuminate the entire road so far ahead that you no longer need to trust. It shines enough for the next step, enough so that you do not step back into old pits, enough for you to know what must be released, what must be kept, and what must still be waited for in peace. I do not open your eyes so that you may panic before reality. I open your eyes so that your peace will no longer rest upon what is false. Peace built on illusion will collapse when truth comes. But peace placed in me will stand firm even when every veil is pulled down. My child, let me renew the way you see. Do not only ask me to open doors, ask me to cleanse your eyes before you walk through them. Do not only ask me to shorten the waiting season, ask me to complete what the waiting season was sent to do within you. For when your vision is purified, you will no longer chase after everything that shines. You will recognize the true light. When your heart is healed, you will no longer choose from lack. You will choose from fullness in me. When your faith matures, you will understand that delay does not mean loss. Silence does not mean absence. And the door that closes today may be the very fence, protecting you from a path that was never meant for you. The vision is yet for the appointed time, though it delays. Wait for it. Habakkuk 2:3. I am not leading you according to the clock of fear, but according to the timing of eternal wisdom. Therefore, rest in me. But do not fall asleep. Wait. But do not despair. Walk slowly. But do not turn back. What I am removing is not meant to leave you empty, but to make room for something purer. What I am showing you is not meant to steal your peace, but to establish that peace upon a foundation that cannot be shaken. And what I have not yet opened is not because I am against you, but because I love you enough not to give you something you have not yet been prepared to preserve. My beloved, my day does not arrive late. When the time is ripe, you will look back and understand that I did not hold you back too long. I held you just long enough, so that when you step out, you will not only step with strengthened feet, but with clear eyes, a free heart, and a soul that knows deeply that I was with you in every pause that once seemed meaningless. My beloved child, there are moments when I do not speak through thunder, nor do I place a radiant sign before you, but I simply touch very gently the deepest place within your heart. causing you to realize that what was once familiar no longer carries the breath of life. You may try to explain it with reason. You may tell yourself that everything is still the same. But your soul knows. It knows when a place I once used to nourish you has now become too narrow. It knows when a promise that once kindled hope is no longer the lamp for your present steps. It knows when a connection that was once grace in a former season has now become a cord, holding you back from what I am calling you to enter. Therefore, do not regard that holy unease as an enemy. Sometimes it is my gentle bell calling you to awaken. As it is written, your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, "This is the way, walk in it." Isaiah 30:21. That voice is not always loud, but it is always true. It does not always make you comfortable, but it always leads you back to life. I know you have learned how to hold on. You hold on to people, memories, promises, opportunities, and even definitions of yourself that you built with tears. There are things you keep not because they are still alive, but because you fear that if you let them go, you will be left empty. But my child, a tightly closed hand does not only keep the old inside, it also prevents the new from being placed within it. When I tell you to release something, I am not denying the value of what once was. I am simply showing you that its season has been completed. A seed must leave its old form for the life within it to be revealed. An old wineskin cannot hold new wine without bursting. For no one pours new wine into old wineskins. Mark 2:22. I do not desire to pour my freshness into a space already filled with fear, regret, and memories whose assignment has ended. I am enlarging you, not impoverishing you. Sometimes you will have to release even the very things I once used to support you. This is something only a mature heart can understand. Not everything that once came from me is appointed to remain forever in the same form. There was a season when I gave manna each day to my people in the wilderness. But when they entered the promised land, the manna ceased, and they began to eat the produce of the land. Joshua 5:12. The manna stopped, not because I loved them less, but because the way of provision had changed according to the new season. In the same way, there are people who were once shade for you along part of the journey, yet they were not called to walk with you through every chapter of your life. There are ways of praying that once kept you from collapsing, but now I am leading you into deeper communion. There are dreams that once served as a ray of light in the night, but now I am lifting your eyes to a wider horizon. Do not worship the means and forget the one who gives them. I am the source, and everything else is only a stream in my hands. Remember the story of Mary Magdalene beside the empty tomb. She wept because she thought she had lost her teacher. But when the risen one called her by name, her heart recognized the familiar voice. Yet through my only Son, it was spoken, "Do not cling to me." John 20:17. That word was not cold, nor was it a rejection of love. It was an invitation to move from an old way of holding on into a new way of knowing. Mary could not hold the risen Lord in the same way she had known him before the cross, because a new chapter had opened, higher, Vita, and filled with greater power. My beloved, there are things you want to embrace again, because you once encountered me through them. But I am saying, do not cling to the old form of grace when I am revealing a new glory. What you have lost is not my presence. What you are being invited to release is the way you once limited that presence. Therefore, do not fear the discernment that is growing within you. It will cause you to recognize what still carries life and what is only the outer shell of a season that has passed. It will help you distinguish between loyalty and bondage, between patience and delay, between love and losing yourself. I am not teaching you to become hardened. I am teaching you to love with wisdom. I am not teaching you to abandon others because they are no longer convenient. I am teaching you to recognize the holy boundaries of each relationship. There are people you must bless, and then allow to continue on their own path. There are people you must forgive, yet no longer allow them to determine the rhythm of your steps. There are people you must love from a distance, not because your heart has become smaller, but because your obedience has grown greater than your need for approval. The wisdom that comes from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and willing to yield. James 3:17. True wisdom is not cruel, it is pure. When I place my hand upon yours and tell you to open it, you will see that you are not falling into emptiness. For beneath you are my everlasting arms. What you entrust to me is not lost. The people you commit into my hands are not beyond my care. The dreams you lay down do not die if they were truly born of me. They are only being sown into the ground, either to be resurrected in the proper time or to make room for something better. Therefore, surrender the burden you have still been carrying in silence. For cast your burden on the Lord, and he shall sustain you. Psalm 55:22. You were not created to control every outcome. You were created to walk with me, to hear me, to trust me, and to keep your heart soft enough to change direction when I shift the wind. Now I am bringing you into the flow of present grace. Do not live by the ashes of an old fire when I am kindling a new flame within you. Do not call yourself by the name of your wound, for you are not what happened to you. Do not allow an old promise, an old attachment, or an old image of yourself to occupy the place of what I am speaking today. Paul said, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things which are ahead. Philippians 3:13. Not because the past is meaningless, but because the future in me is too holy to be dragged down by what has already been completed. Keep moving forward. My beloved, release with peace. Listen for the still, small voice in the silence. I am not taking life away from you. I am removing from you what can no longer contain life. And when your hand opens, you will be surprised to realize that what I place within it is not only newer, but truer to the person I created you to become. My beloved child, let this word sink deeply into your soul. The moment a person is truly awakened by the call of heaven, the things that once imprisoned them begin to lose their dominion. Chains do not always fall in one loud instant. Many times they rust away gradually in the light, losing their weight day by day as you no longer agree with the old fear. Before, a single painful memory was enough to make you step back. A single doubtful word was enough to make you shrink within yourself. And a single past failure was enough to make you believe that the future had been shut. But now, as I call your name in the deep place, you begin to realize that you were not created to live as a prisoner of seasons that have passed. Awake, you who sleep. Arise from the dead, and Christ will give you light. Ephesians 5:14. That light does not merely shine around you, it enters even the rooms you once locked away, the places where fear has sat for too long like a false master. And I speak to it. Enough. My child no longer belongs to this captivity. Perhaps fear has not disappeared completely, but my child, spiritual maturity is not the moment when you no longer feel trembling. It is the moment when you no longer allow that trembling to be your guide. You can move forward with knees that still feel weak, yet with a heart that is turned in the right direction. You may hear the past whisper that you will fail as you did before, but at the same time, you hear my voice speaking more clearly. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Isaiah 41:10. When my voice becomes louder than the voice of your wound, you no longer live according to the reflexes of pain, but according to the revelation of grace. What once caused you to stop will no longer have enough authority to control your steps, because within you, I am rebuilding a steadfastness that is not born from favorable circumstances, but from my presence. Remember Peter on the night he was imprisoned in the darkness of a cell. Soldiers guarded him. Iron doors were locked tight. Chains bound his hands. And everything on the outside said there was no way of escape. But in the very place that seemed completely controlled, my angel entered. Light shone in the prison, and the chains fell from the hands of the one who was called. Scripture says that the angel told him, "Arise quickly," and then led him through each layer of doors until the iron gate opened by itself. Acts 12, 7-10. Do you see? What guarded him was not stronger than what I had appointed for him. Locked doors cannot argue with a command from heaven. Chains cannot hold back the one whom I still have work to send forth. In the same way, you may have been surrounded by limitations, prejudgments, accusation, and fears that have grown over the years. But when my hour touches your soul, what once imprisoned, you must make way for my calling. Therefore, do not confuse awakening with a passing emotion. I am not merely stirring you so that you may feel inspired for one day and then return to your old ways. I am placing within you an enduring awareness, a holy soberness that will no longer allow you to live under the names that pain once gave you. You are no longer the child who only knows how to react to what frightens you. You are learning to become the child who knows how to answer me. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. John 10:27. When you hear me, you will know that there are doors that should not be opened again, voices that no longer need to be given the right to explain your life, and anxieties that are no longer worthy to sit upon the throne of your heart. That discernment will not make you hardened, it will make you free. It helps you walk without asking permission from the past, love without losing yourself, and be courageous without becoming proud. And my beloved, when I call you to move forward, do not think that only your own strength is supporting your steps. There is help you cannot see with natural eyes, yet it is more real than the walls standing before you. The angel of the Lord encamps all around those who fear him, and delivers them. Psalm 34:7. Heaven is not silent before your obedience. Every time you choose to follow my voice instead of the voice of fear, the entire unseen realm witnesses a movement. I send grace before you, place wisdom beside you, establish protection behind you, and give new strength within you, not so that you may exalt yourself, but so that you will no longer lower yourself beneath the things from which I have already set you free. My backing does not make you showy. It makes you stand firm while remaining humble, strong while remaining tender, decisive while still being full of love. There will be times when you look around and seem to be alone, but do not let the absence of others cause you to doubt my presence. Many times I have led those I love through paths that the crowd could not understand. Joshua had to step down into the Jordan before the waters parted. Gideon had to hear me call him a mighty man of valor while he was still trembling in the winepress. Mary had to carry the promise in her heart before the world understood what I was doing through her. So it is with you as well. There are first steps of obedience that will not be met with applause, but they will carry my confirmation. And my confirmation is enough to keep you moving forward, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit. Zechariah 4:6. What I have begun in you does not depend on your natural strength. It is upheld by my Spirit, preserved by my word, and guided by my wisdom. Now, I want you to stand up in a new posture, not to stand so you can prove to anyone that you are strong, but to stand because you have heard me calling, not to walk in order to run from the past, but to enter the future I have prepared. Let the old words fall from your shoulders. Let the old image of yourself dissolve before my light. Let your soul learn a new rhythm of life, not rushing because you fear losing something, not delaying because you fear being hurt, but stepping in alignment with my voice. The Lord will go before you. He will be with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. Deuteronomy 31:8. You do not step into tomorrow as one thrown into the unknown. You step into tomorrow with the one who has already been there before you. Therefore, let this be engraved upon your heart. My beloved, true awakening does not only open your eyes, it also opens the chains around you. As I become more alive within you, fear will become smaller. As my word becomes the foundation in your heart, painful memories will no longer be the map of your life. As my calling resounds clearly, you will know that you were not born to wander in the prison of what has passed. I am calling you out, one step at a time, with the backing of heaven, with the light of the Holy Spirit, and with a love that never withdraws. Rise up, my child. Walk forward, not because you have never been afraid, but because I am greater than your fear. Not because the road has become completely easy, but because I am the one who makes a way. And as you follow my voice, you will realize that the strongest thing in your life is not the chain that once held you, but my hand leading you into freedom. My beloved child, do not be quick to condemn the restlessness growing within your heart, as though it were a sign that you have lost your direction. There are uneasinesses that do not come from chaos, but from life moving within you. There are times when you can no longer remain at ease, not because you have drifted away from me, but because I am drawing you out of a place that has become too narrow for what I have appointed. Before, that place may have sheltered you, supported you, and given you a rhythm of life sufficient for recovery. But, my child, not every place that once nourished you is appointed to keep you forever. A cradle is useful for a child, but if a grown person continues to lie in it, it is no longer protection but limitation. I did not create you to live folded up within familiar walls, nor did I make you to measure peace by the comfort of your circumstances. I came to give life, and as it is written, I have come that they may have life, and that they may have it more abundantly. John 10:10. That abundance is not merely the addition of outward things, but your soul being enlarged so that it no longer fears stepping into a new space of grace. Therefore, when what once comforted you no longer brings rest, listen. Instead of panicking, familiarity can lull you to sleep, but my presence awakens you. There are doors you once stood behind in order to feel safe, but now I am opening them not to push you into danger, but to lead you into maturity. You asked me to let you grow, to set you free, and to help you live in alignment with the calling upon your life. So do not be surprised when I begin to remove the structures that once kept you small. Enlarge the place of your tent, and let them stretch out the curtains of your dwellings. Isaiah 54:2. That word does not speak only of outward space, but also of inward capacity. I am enlarging your heart, enlarging your vision, enlarging your ability to trust, but for the new to have a place to dwell. The old curtains of fear, self-protection, and self-doubt must be loosened, and even taken down. When that veil falls from your eyes, what you first see will not only be the world around you, but yourself in my light. You will begin to recognize that you have looked at yourself through too many lenses clouded by wounds. There were words from others that became distorted mirrors, causing you to believe you were worth less than you truly are. There were seasons of pain that made you believe you could only survive by defending yourself, shrinking back, or pleasing others just to remain safe. There were days when you smiled not because you had peace, but because you no longer had the strength to explain your pain. But now I am calling you out of that way of existing. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. 2 Corinthians 5:17. You are not merely changing your position, you are being renamed within your heart. You are not merely leaving a circumstance, you are leaving behind the version of yourself that was formed by fear. Remember Bartimaeus, the blind man sitting by the roadside near Jericho. People had grown accustomed to seeing him as a beggar, a man defined by lack and darkness. But when he heard that Jesus was passing by, he did not allow the voice of the crowd to silence him. He cried out with a faith brighter than his physical eyes. And when he was called, Scripture says that he threw aside his garment, rose, and came to Jesus. Mark 10:50. Do you see? That outer garment was not merely a piece of cloth. It was a sign of the old life, the old place, the old identity that people had become used to assigning to him. Before his eyes were opened, his hands had already released the garment of the past. In the same way, I am calling you to rise from the place where you have sat for too long. Others may still call you by the old name, but I call you by new life. Circumstances may not change immediately, but when you hear my voice and stand up, the chains within have already begun to fall. My beloved, I know why you once built layers of armor around yourself. I do not despise them, because I saw the seasons when you had to endure more than you could ever put into words. There is a layer formed after betrayal. There is a layer that grew after you were misunderstood. There is a layer that took shape when you learned that revealing your heart could leave you wounded. But what once helped you survive the storm cannot become the permanent home of your soul. When I touch those defenses, I do not come as a thief taking away your safety. I come as the Father who knows that true safety is not found in the walls you have built, but in my arms. The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Psalm 27:1. When you know that I am your refuge, you no longer need to turn your heart into a closed fortress. Therefore, the restlessness you are feeling is an invitation to enter a higher peace. A lower peace clings to what is familiar. A deeper peace clings to me. Immature peace says, I can only rest when nothing changes. But mature peace says, even if you lead me through a place I have never known, I can still rest because you are with me. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds. Philippians 4:7. And that peace does not require every detail to be clear before it becomes present. It comes when you place your hand in mine, even when you do not yet fully understand why you can no longer return to the way things were. It guards your heart from panic when the veils fall. It teaches you that truth is not your enemy. Light is not punishment. And change is not loss when I am the one leading the way. Now I am redefining you from within. I will not allow the past to have the final word over your name. I will not allow the seasons in which you merely tried to survive to become the pattern for your entire life. I do not see you through what wounded you, but through what I placed within you from the beginning. Within you there is tenderness that has not died, courage that has not yet been fully awakened, discernment forged through tears, and a voice that will be used to bring life instead of merely hiding pain. Therefore, do not grieve when the old garments no longer fit. Do not be afraid when the old place becomes too narrow. Do not turn back simply because the future has not yet appeared in full. I am leading you out of mere existence and into fullness, out of the distorted image and back into your true identity, out of a peace borrowed from familiarity and into the peace anchored in me. Walk forward, my beloved. The veil is falling not so that you may lose yourself, but so that you may finally see yourself as I have always seen you, loved, called, made new, and lifted up to live more expansively in my light. My beloved child, before you step deeper into the new land that I am opening before you, I want you to pause with me in a place that is very real, very hidden, and very tender within your heart. It is the place you learned to cover with calmness, the place you once concealed beneath words like, I am fine. It is all right. That is over now. While beneath the surface, there were still quiet streams of pain that had not yet been touched. I will not lead you into a new chapter while leaving that part of you abandoned in the dark. Because I know that if a wound is not healed, it will follow you in the form of weariness, suspicion, self-protection, and fear. I do not only want you to go far, I want you to go far in freedom. I do not only want you to pass through a new door, I want your soul to pass through without dragging the old chains behind it. As it is written, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147. Sam, I do not stand at a distance and look upon your pain as though it were a small thing. I bend down, place my hand upon the place where you were once shattered, and begin to heal with the tenderness of the one who never despises your tears. There are memories you have tried to bury deep, not because you have truly been set free, but because you feared that if you opened them again, you would not be able to bear it. There are old words that still echo within you in moments of weakness, causing you to doubt your own worth. There are times of being abandoned, misunderstood, and wounded that taught you to protect yourself by expecting less, trusting less deeply, and opening your heart less widely. But my child, I do not call that weakness. I call it a place that needs to be loved rightly. You survived seasons in which no one fully saw the burden you were carrying. You tried to keep moving forward, even while parts of you had not yet had time to heal. But now, I do not want you merely to exist with an outward appearance of strength. I want you to be restored from the root. For the Lord is near to those who have a broken heart, and saves such as have a contrite spirit. Psalm 34:18. My nearness does not stay distant from the wounded. The very place where you think you are hardest to love is the place where I desire to reveal my deepest mercy. Remember Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan. When he was still small, he fell and became lame in his feet, then grew up in Lodabar, a place whose name speaks of barrenness and lack, as though his destiny had been framed by accident and loss. He did not enter the palace through his own confidence. He was summoned by the kindness of King David because of a covenant that had already been made. And David said to him, "Do not fear, for I will surely show you kindness." 2 Samuel 9:7. Do you see? What had made Mephibosheth lame did not prevent him from sitting at the king's table. His wound did not erase his right to be restored. In the same way, my beloved, the things that have caused your soul to limp cannot cancel my calling upon your life. I do not wait for you to make yourself perfect before inviting you to the table of grace. I call you there so that, in that place, you may learn again that you still belong, that you are still remembered, and that you still have a portion in my kindness. Therefore, do not pretend to be strong before me. I do not need you to dress your pain in beautiful words. I do not need you to stand before me as though you were never affected by what happened. I know the nights when you stayed silent because you no longer had the strength to explain. I know the moments when you wanted to try again, but your heart drew back because it feared being wounded once more. I know even the parts you have not dared to name, the sorrows you have buried beneath responsibility, the disappointments you have hidden behind kindness, and the cracks you have covered with busyness. But I speak to you, bring them out into my light, not the light that condemns, but the light that heals. If we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another. 1 John 1:7. In that light, you are not exposed for shame. You are released from the burden of having to hide. You once thought that stepping into a new chapter meant forgetting everything old. But I am teaching you something deeper. Healing is not denying the past, but no longer allowing the past to rule over you. I am not asking you to erase the memory as though it never existed. I touch that memory so that its poison no longer flows into your present. There are things that, when left unhealed, will cause you to misread the future. You will look at opportunities through eyes of suspicion. Look at love with guardedness. And look at your calling with the feeling that you are unworthy. But when I heal, I do not merely soothe the pain, I restore the way you see. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. For true renewal begins when you no longer think from your wound, no longer make decisions from fear, and no longer call self-protection wisdom when it is keeping you from entering into life. Look at the woman who suffered from the flow of blood for many years. She had lost strength, lost resources, lost her place within the community, and perhaps gradually lost the sense that she was still seen as a precious daughter. But when she touched the hem of the Savior's garment, the painful flow stopped. Yet the miracle did not end with her body being healed. I also called her out of hiding, not to shame her, but to restore her honor in the light. Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Mark 5:34. Listen carefully to those two words. Daughter, I did not only heal what was bleeding, I restored the identity that had been wounded. I did not only stop the pain from continuing, I returned to her soul the peace that shame had stolen. Therefore, when I reach into that hidden place, do not draw back. I know that healing sometimes makes you tremble, because it asks you to open a door you have kept locked for a very long time. But I do not force my way into your heart like an intruder. I stand there as a compassionate father, patiently waiting for you to hand me the key. I will not crush the bruised reed, nor will I quench the smoking wick. As it is written in Isaiah 42:3, I know how to touch you without breaking you further. I know how to wash you clean without stripping away your dignity. I know how to name the pain without allowing the pain to define you. Each time you allow me to enter more deeply, you are not becoming weaker, you are becoming truer, freer, and more steadfast. Now, let me heal not only the wounds you can see, but also the reactions that were born from those wounds. Let me touch the guardedness that has made it difficult for you to receive love. Let me touch the fear of failure that causes you to stop before you even try. Let me touch the feeling of unworthiness that makes you shrink back from the things I have prepared. Let me touch the weariness of one who has tried to stay strong for too long. For I do not call you into a new chapter as an exhausted warrior who must pretend not to hurt. I call you as a child who is bandaged, lifted up, and led forward by love. I will restore health to you and heal you of your wounds. Jeremiah 30:17. That word is not only for former days, it is breathing over you right now. So, my beloved child, do not fear the deep places within your own heart anymore. That is not an abyss I have abandoned, it is a garden I am about to restore. Where thorns once filled the ground, tenderness will begin to grow. Where darkness once covered the place, light will pass through. Where silent bleeding once remained, there will become a spring of compassion, wisdom, and new life. You do not need to hide before me. You do not need to heal yourself by your own strength. Place your wound into my hands, as one would place something precious into the hands of the one who knows how to keep it safe. And as I heal you, you will step into the new chapter, no longer as one running from the past, but as one restored in the light, called by the name Beloved, and led forward in a peace more complete than anything you once dared to ask for. My beloved child, allow my light to touch your memories with gentleness, so that you will no longer look back on the journey behind you through eyes of self-blame, but through eyes washed clean by grace. There were days when you thought you had been abandoned in empty space, as though every prayer had fallen to the ground without any answer from heaven. There were seasons when you walked with a smile on the outside, while inside you carried an emptiness you did not know how to explain to anyone. There were nights when you lay still, no longer having the strength to name your sorrow, only telling yourself that you had to be strong just a little longer. But I speak to you today, not for a single moment were you truly left behind. When you did not recognize me, I was still there. When you could not feel me, I was still covering you. When you thought you were carrying everything on your own, my arm was still quietly keeping you from falling deeper than you could bear. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5 is not a distant comfort meant for someone else. It is the word I placed like a seal upon every step you have taken. There were things you once called my silence, but in truth, they were protective boundaries you did not yet understand. There were doors you thought I closed because I did not hear your voice. But I closed them because behind them were roads that would have worn down your soul. There were delays you once saw as rejection, but in my hands, they were time for your roots to grow deeper, your heart to become steadier, and your vision to become purer. You see only one stretch of the road, but I see the whole journey. You feel the pain of one departure, but I know what is being made room for in its appointed time. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. Isaiah 43:2. I do not always keep you from every body of water, but I never allow the waters to have the authority to swallow you, even in the places you thought were proof of my absence. I had placed traces of my faithfulness. Remember Hagar in the wilderness, the woman driven into a dry place with her young child and a water skin that was running empty. She thought she had reached the end, that no one saw her pain, and that no one heard the cry of her child. But in the desert, I opened her eyes to see the well of water nearby, and she called me the God who sees, because she came to know that she was not invisible before me. Genesis 16:13, 21, 19. Do you see? Many times the well has been closer than you thought, but despair clouded your eyes. I do not condemn you for being tired. I do not condemn you for the moments when you could not see a way out. I simply draw near, open your eyes, and let you recognize that my mercy was there even in the place you thought had been forgotten. Therefore, when my light shines upon your life, do not be afraid, as though I have come to uncover your mistakes in order to shame you. My light is not like the condemning gaze of mankind. I do not bring you out of darkness to remind you that you were once weak. I bring you out so that you may know that your weakness never caused me to leave you. There is therefore now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. Romans 8:1. Let that word remove from your shoulders the heavy garment of guilt. You do not enter the new season as one standing trial, nor do you move forward with the sentence of the past chained to your feet. You walk as one who was loved before you knew how to love yourself again, upheld before you had enough strength to stand firm, and called by name and grace before you could fully understand the meaning of redemption. I know you once looked back and saw only broken pieces, a choice that filled you with regret, a relationship that wounded you, a season of waiting that made you feel forgotten, a failure that made you afraid to begin again. But my beloved, I am teaching you to see with another light. What you call loss may be the redirection of heaven. What you call delay may be hidden preparation. What you call wandering may be the way I separated you from a path that was never meant for you. All things work together for good to those who love God. Romans 8:28. This does not mean that everything that happened was pleasant or right in itself, but it means that nothing has the power to exceed my ability to redeem. In my hands, ashes can become beauty, tears can become waters of nourishment, and the chapters you thought were ruined can become the foundation for a deeper testimony. Do not continue punishing yourself for the things you did when you were only trying to survive with the measure of light you had at that time. I saw your heart in moments when others only saw the outward action. I saw the fear behind the hesitation, the wound behind the defensiveness, the exhaustion behind the times when you could not respond the way you wished you could. I do not call you by the name of your season of weakness. I call you, my beloved child. The Lord does not see as man sees, for man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. Because I see your heart, I know how to heal you without crushing you, how to straighten your path without stripping away your dignity, and how to bring you out of darkness while still holding you in love. Now, I invite you to look back over your journey, not so that you may remain in the past, but so that you may recognize how I was present within it. Look more closely, my child, and you will see my hand in the times when you thought you would not make it through. Yet you did. You will see my mercy in the doors that closed, which only later you understood were protection. You will see my wisdom in the silences that taught you to listen more deeply. You will see my grace in the people who were sent at the right time, in the small words of encouragement, in the unexpected strength that rose within you when you thought you had been completely depleted. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Psalm 23:6. They do not only go before you on bright days, they also follow behind you to gather the broken pieces you did not have the strength to carry. So step into the new chapter with a lighter heart. My beloved child, do not carry condemnation as luggage. Do not let old questions lock the door of new faith. Do not look at yourself through what you have lost, but through the one who has kept you in every season. I have never left you. I have never released you from my hand. I have never allowed darkness to write the final sentence of your story. And from this place, when you look back with healed eyes, you will no longer see only pain. You will see guidance. You will no longer see only emptiness. You will see the space I had prepared. You will no longer see only silent days. You will see my quiet yet faithful presence. Go forward in freedom, for my light has not come to condemn you, but to bring you back into your rightful place, loved, preserved, guided, and prepared for something better than you once dared to believe. My beloved child, before I lead you deeper into the new land, I am doing a quiet yet very holy work within your heart. I am healing the way you see yourself. For if you step into the new while still carrying an old identity, you will stand in the midst of blessing and still behave like one who is unworthy. You will hear the sound of an open door and still fear that you are not permitted to walk through it. You will see the table prepared and still stand at a distance like someone who only hopes to receive the leftovers. Therefore, I am not merely comforting you with a few gentle words for a moment. I am removing from you, on by on, the false labels that pain, the words of others, past failure, and self-blame have attached to your soul. You are not the name your past called you. You are not the wound you once carried. You are not the delay, the loss, or the times when you did not yet know how to stand firm. I have spoken. I have called you by your name. You are mine. Isaiah 43:1. When I call your name, I do not call you vaguely from among the crowd. I call into the very core of who you are, the place where only the one who created you fully knows who you truly are. Therefore, let my word become the new mirror before you. You have looked at yourself for too long through distorted mirrors, the mirror of comparison, the mirror of judgment, the mirror of seasons when you were only trying to survive, the mirror of people who did not see the value I placed within you. But now I set my light before you, so that you will no longer measure yourself by what you lack, but recognize who you are through the one who is with you. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. I see within you the things you have forgotten, the tenderness that has not died, the faith that is still breathing, the courage that is awakening, the wisdom born from tears, and a calling that has not been erased by any season of weakness. When you begin to see yourself rightly, your steps will change. You will no longer walk like one asking permission to exist, but like a child who knows they belong in the Father's house. Remember Jacob, the one who lived for many years under a name associated with striving, deception, and unrest. He had run away. He had been afraid, and he had carried within him the fractures of his past. But on the night he wrestled beside the brook Jabbok, I did not only touch his body, I touched his identity. And when dawn came, his name was no longer Jacob, but Israel, because he had wrestled with God and was transformed. Genesis 32:28. Do you see? I did not leave him in the old name. I did not allow the history of his failures to define his future. I am doing the same with you. Perhaps you have carried an invisible name for far too long, not enough. Delayed, forgotten, hard to love, always failing, but I am replacing those names with truth. In my hands, you are no longer the one named by the past, you are the one renamed by grace. Therefore, as you stand before the threshold of the new chapter, do not let anxiety enter before you. Do not let the imagination of fear paint scenes I have never spoken. You do not need to control every detail in order to feel safe, because your true safety is not found in knowing everything, but in knowing that I am walking with you. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my eye. Psalm 32:8. Listen closely. My beloved, I am not standing far away at the end of the road, waiting for you to find your way to me by yourself. I walk with you in every step, teaching you when to stop, reminding you when to turn, lifting you when you are weary, and holding you when you are not strong enough to hold yourself. You are not being thrown into the new. You are being led into the new. I want there to be within your heart a holy expectation, not a shallow excitement built on everything having to happen according to your own desire, but the deep anticipation of one who knows their Father is faithful. This expectation does not demand that I explain everything before you obey, nor does it cause you to panic when you do not yet see immediate results. It is like a seed lying in the soil, unable to see the sun, yet still trusting that the season of sprouting is coming. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews 11:1. When that faith lives within you, you will no longer step into the future with the posture of someone merely hoping for luck, but with the peace of one who is being guided. You may not yet know how every door will open, but you know the one who holds the key. And if there is still a question in your heart, am I enough? Lay that question down before me. For if you look only at your natural ability, you will always see lack. You will see limits, insufficient experience, insufficient strength, insufficient understanding, insufficient courage. But the new chapter is not built upon your sufficiency. It is upheld by mine. When Paul pleaded because of the thorn in his flesh, I said, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness." 2 Corinthians 12:9. Do you hear me? I did not tell you that you must no longer be weak before you can move forward. I tell you to bring even your weakness into dependence, so that my power may have room to be revealed. What I call you to do does not demand that you display perfection. It invites you to live nearer to me. Therefore, my beloved child, step into the new chapter, not as one trying to prove your worth, but as one who was loved before you ever accomplished anything. Be present where I place you with an open heart, a listening soul, and a humility deep enough to recognize that every good thing within you is nourished by grace. Do not fear what lies ahead. Do not shrink before things that are greater than your former experience. Do not disqualify yourself from the place to which I have called you. I am healing your identity, brightening your vision, and placing within your heart a new steadfastness. Walk in the name by which I have called you, in the love that has received you as my own, in the grace that is sufficient for each day. And as you walk, you will realize this: you do not need to become someone else in order to be worthy of what I am opening. You only need to live as the person you truly are in me, loved, called, guided, and upheld by the hand that will never let you go. My beloved child, let this word become a holy boundary within your heart. You no longer walk as one led by the hand of the past. What happened to you may be part of your story, but it is no longer allowed to sit upon the throne and decide who you will become. The times you broke are not your name. The times you were disappointed are not your destiny. The words that once made you doubt yourself are not the sentence I have signed over your life. I am drawing you out of a life that reacts from old wounds and into a life that responds by faith. Therefore, if the Son makes you free, you shall be free indeed. John 8:36. True freedom is not only no longer being bound by circumstances. True freedom is when your heart no longer needs permission from painful memories in order to believe, to love, to move forward, and to shine. I am placing within you a new vision, not a fragile fantasy built from passing emotion, but a way of seeing born from a soul I have awakened. There is a way of seeing that comes from fear, always asking, what if I lack? What if I fail? What if I am not received? But there is also a way of seeing that comes from me, gentle yet strong, speaking, you have me, therefore you have the source. When you realize that your source is not found in the praise of others, not in an external door, and not in what you can control, you will no longer go out as one starving for validation. You will go out as one who carries life given from heaven. My God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory. Philippians 4:19. You do not step into the world to beg it to give you an identity. You step into the world because I have already placed that identity within you. Therefore, do not dim your light just to remain in places that can no longer receive you rightly. I did not create you to dissolve into every room, every expectation, and every voice that wants to pull you down until you fit within their limits. I created you to reflect my light with humility, purity, and steadfastness. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5:14. Light does not need to shout in order to prove that it is light. It only needs to be present in its true nature. When you stand in what I have placed within you, you do not become arrogant, you become clear. When you no longer compromise in order to be accepted, you do not become cold, you become faithful to the truth I have sown into your soul. Remember Daniel when he was taken into Babylon, a foreign place with new names, a new language, new pressures, and systems that wanted to redefine him. People could change his name, place him in the palace of a foreign king, and teach him the wisdom of that land. But they could not take away his belonging to me. When the king's food was set before him, Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself. Daniel 1:8. Do you see? He did not need to make noise in order to be faithful. He only needed to remain clear about who he was before me. And from that quiet clarity, I raised him up in wisdom and caused him to shine in the midst of a confused generation. So it is with you. There will be places that try to make you exchange acceptance for compromise. But I am teaching you to stand firm without bitterness, to be different without pride, and to shine while still being full of grace. Perhaps before, you once thought that in order to be loved, you had to make yourself smaller in order to stay. You had to remain silent before what wounded your heart in order to be accepted. You had to hide the part I had placed within you. But my child, true love does not require you to betray your light. True belonging does not force you to become a less alive version of yourself. I did not heal you so that you would return to living like someone who is always apologizing for existing. I did not call you out of darkness so that you would place your lamp under a basket again. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Matthew 5:15. What I have placed within you is not for boasting, but for service, not so that you may be exalted, but so that through you, others may see the way back to life. From now on, learn to walk not from lack, but from fullness in me. The one who acts from lack is always hurried, always afraid of losing, always trying to prove themselves, and always easily tempted to compromise in order to keep a temporary place. But the one who knows they are supplied by me can walk slowly yet surely, can say no and still remain at peace, can wait without despair, and can give without becoming depleted. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. That word does not mean that everything you desire will come in the way you demand, but that your soul has a shepherd who will not let you wither in the wilderness. When I am the source, you do not need to cling to muddy streams simply because you fear thirst. When I am your inheritance, you do not need to sell your peace in exchange for fragile acceptance. I also want you to understand that your clarity will not always make everyone comfortable. There are people who are only accustomed to the version of you that was quieter, more pliable, with fewer boundaries and less light. When you begin to walk in truth, they may call you changed, distant, or difficult to understand. But my beloved, not every complaint about your growth is evidence that you are wrong. Sometimes it is only evidence that you are no longer living in the old role from which they once benefited. We ought to obey God rather than men. Acts 5:29. I am not teaching you to despise others. I am teaching you to place my voice above their approval. True obedience sometimes requires you to step out of familiarity, but it always brings you closer to me. Now I am kindling within you a lamp, not so that you may fear the wind, but so that you may learn to stand firm in the hand of the one who keeps the flame. Do not return to the old way of living simply because it is familiar. Do not deny the vision I have given you simply because it is greater than your experience. Do not let what once wounded you become the map for what is ahead. I have renewed your heart, and I will continue to renew the path you walk. The Lord will cause your light to rise in the darkness, and your darkness shall be as the noonday. Isaiah 58:10. As you follow that light, you will no longer search for yourself in the eyes of others. You will know that you belong to me, that you are supplied by me, sent by me, and kept by me. Therefore, move forward, my beloved child, not as one still being pulled backward by old broken pieces, but as one whom I have gathered, healed, and set in the right place. Carry your light with humility. Hold your clarity with love. Refuse compromise, not with hardness, but with faithfulness. You do not go out to search for a source outside of me. You go out because the source of life has been placed within you by my grace. And when you live in this way, you will become a quiet yet powerful testimony that those whom I have called by name do not need to live dimly in order to be accepted, because they have already been loved, created, sent forth, and illuminated by my own hand. My beloved child, when my light begins to wash, clean the eyes of your soul, what you see will not only be the stones that once caused you to stumble, but also the pathways I had already prepared, which before you did not have enough peace to recognize. There are doors that have not disappeared from your life. They were only hidden by fear, by memory, by the feeling of being unworthy, and by old voices that trained you to stand outside instead of stepping in. But now, As the veil is lifted, you will understand that my light does not only reveal what needs to be healed, that light also shows you where you must walk. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119, 105. And that lamp does not come to overwhelm you, but to illuminate the next step clearly enough so that you will no longer keep circling old limitations while I have already prepared an opening before you. I want you to understand this with a quiet heart. Not every door that once closed was an ending. Some doors closed to protect you from a time that had not yet ripened. Some doors closed so that you would not enter from a place of lack, seeking worth in a place where you were meant to bring worth. Some doors closed because you were still carrying too many burdens. And I loved you enough not to let you enter a new season with your hands still bound by the old one. But now, as I have healed you, positioned you, and brightened your identity again, you are standing differently than before. A door does not open only because circumstances have changed. Many times, it opens because something within you has changed. As I have spoken, behold, I have set before you an open door, and no one can shut it. Revelation 3:8. That door does not require you to be perfect. It invites you to step through in readiness, in faith, and in freedom. Now you will begin to recognize opportunities that you once passed by without daring to believe they were meant for you. Not because they have only been created today, but because today your eyes are clearer, your heart is freer, and your faith is no longer being pulled down by old words. The door of restoration is opening, but not so that you may return to the person you were before you were wounded. I am not merely bringing you back to where you once were. I am bringing you into a deeper wholeness. I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. Joel 2:25. And my restoration is not only the return of what was lost, but the making of the years that seemed devoured into fertile soil for wisdom, compassion, and new strength. There are also doors of healthy connections being placed before you. Not everyone who draws near to you in the new season will be like those who once drained you. Do not let old wounds cause you to close the door to encounters I have sent. I will teach you discernment, so that you do not open your heart carelessly, yet also do not lock yourself away in isolation. There are people who will not pull you back into an old version of yourself, but will remind you of what I have placed within you. There are people who will not require you to dim your light in order to be accepted, but will walk with you in truth. Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. Ecclesiastes 4:9. I did not create you to live exhausted in distorted connections. Neither have I called you into isolation. I am preparing encounters that carry the breath of life, where encouragement does not replace me, but leads you closer to me. Do not be afraid of the dreams that are coming alive again within your heart. There are dreams that have not died. They have only been sleeping during the season when you needed to be healed. There are callings that have not disappeared. They have only been waiting for you to stop seeing yourself through the lens of woundedness. For the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable. Romans 11:29. What I planted within you from the beginning has not been erased by delay, has not been destroyed by seasons of weakness, and has not lost its validity because you were once afraid. Now I am breathing life into those things, not so that you may chase after them with ambition, but so that you may walk with them in obedience. A dream restored by me will not bind you with pressure. It will invite you to cooperate with grace. Therefore, open your heart and follow the flow into which I am leading you. You do not need to force yourself to believe through the tension of your own will. You only need to remain near enough to me to hear, near enough to recognize, and near enough to respond when I speak. The new thing is springing forth. And I ask you as I once spoke, shall you not know it? Isaiah 43:19. Look back, but do not return. Learn from the doors that have closed, but do not pitch your tent before them. Honor the former season, but do not allow it to hold authority over the new one. I am placing before you openings of restoration, connection, creativity, and awakened dreams. Step through, my beloved, not with the arrogance of one who thinks they are ready in themselves, but with the peace of one who knows they are being led by me. And as you step forward, you will see the open door does not only bring you into a new place, it also reveals a new person within you, brighter, freer, steadier, and more full of life in my light.